Hi there, this is David, and today I want to briefly talk about the Wonder Boy collection recently released over on the PS4, PS5, and Nintendo Switch. I was not a Sega kid, so I never did get to play the Wonder Boy games because, they weren't released on Nintendos, but they were all over the place on Sega, as well as over on the TurboGrafx 16, which I also didn't have. It, along with the Phantasy Star series, is one of my biggest regrets of not being able to play whenever I was younger. But now that I've gotten my hands on this, I am glad that I've gotten exposure to all of them with this expansive collection showing off 6 total games, of which there are 21 versions of those games. So yeah, this is extraordinarily comprehensive. Please don't be confused by the previous collection that was released about 9 or so months ago, because while that one was lacking, this is definitely the definitive version to have. And if you're a fan of Hudson's Adventure Island or the Shantae series, then this is really something that you should look into. So let's go through each of the games one by one, starting with the original Wonder Boy. For one game, there's actually 6 different versions here, going as far back as the Commodore 64 and the arcade. And also, if this looks familiar to you, that's because it's essentially Hudson's Adventure Island, which I did play as a kid back on the NES. Basically, what happened is Hudson Soft obtained partial rights to the Wonder Boy series from the development team. However, that team have already signed away ownership of the Wonder Boy name, as well as their characters, to Sega. So Hudson had to find a workaround, and they created their own name and their own characters, but they could keep the basic core gameplay. The next game on offer is Wonder Boy in Monsterland, which has 4 different versions. So if you really want to see how this drastically evolved from a side-scrolling, skateboarding, axe-throwing caveman game to a much more medieval, sword-swinging action RPG, then this is just a great walk through history. And let me be the first one to say and to tell you that this here is the first action RPG ever made. And as such, it can be a bit archaic and obtuse, but let's not forget the built-in rewind and fast forwarding and save states that do make this collection so much more palatable. The third game, Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap, is a fun little diversion from the others. There are 4 different versions of this game included in the collection, where you begin as Wonder Boy, but then you're transformed into a dragon, and you have to fight your way through the stages breathing fire and burning your enemies alive. Well, these naming conventions can be quite confusing, as the 4th game is now Wonder Boy 3 Monster Lair, of which there are 2 versions included. And this here is a stark departure from the rest, and it plays almost more like a space shooter than anything else. In fact, it reminds me a lot of the Guardian Legend, where you have a side-scrolling stage where you control Wonder Boy swinging your swords and firing off beams, followed by a flying stage where you swing your sword and fire off beams. But hey, you can fly! The 5th game, Wonder Boy in Monster World, has 3 different versions included, and now they're taking the action RPG and really running with it. And yeah, it can be clunky, and yeah, it can be slow, but it can also be a whole lot of fun. As this is an older RPG, you are going to have to grind in order to gain up gold for your various weapons and armor, but if you're looking for some Metroidvania fun, you really can't go wrong with this little diversion. And finally, the definitive Wonder Boy game is not called Wonder Boy at all. It's actually called Monster World 4, and it's the 6th game now in the collection, and there are 2 versions of it here. This one has a much more Arabian flair, rather than the other prehistoric or European medieval themes that were going on, and it's also much more fast-paced and much more well-balanced, and it really seems like they caught their stride here. The team learned so much from all the previous Wonder Boy games, and they took what worked and they went with it. So it really is just unfortunate that this was the end of the classic Wonder Boy series, because this really could have been out there, rivaling Mana or Ys for the crown of the best action RPG if it had actually stayed alive back when. This anniversary collection is solid. It is the definitive Wonder Boy collection, and you can buy it over at Strictly Limited Games physically, or download it digitally on the Nintendo eShop for $50. Also, it is available physically on PlayAsia, and it is cheaper over there too. However, it will only have 13 of the 21 versions of the games, because basically you only get the Japanese ports there, and the Western ones are left off. So, I just wanted to make you quickly aware of this great collection, as well as the history involved behind it, and I do hope that you enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think about those series in the comments. And as always, if you like this video and want to cheer on the channel, please consider following me over on Twitter, supporting me on Patreon for exclusive videos and early access to my content, heading on over to Twitch for some streaming fun, or coming on over to my Discord to chat and hang out. The links to them all can be found in the video description. This has been David, and if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.